Today's fresh music.
The new Fresh.
102.7.
The new Fresh 102.7, today's Fresh music, and we are honored to welcome to our studios here at Fresh, Sarah McLachlan. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
The new CD is a greatest hit CD. It's called Closer, and of course, not just some classic Sarah McLachlan songs, but a couple of new ones. You Want Me To is one that you just performed for us a few minutes ago. But this covers music from your first album, Touch, all the way through your last, Afterglow. Now, why the timing? Why a greatest hits CD right now?
Well, really, the impetus for this was the fact that I had 2 new songs, and I went to my manager and said, what do I do with these? I have nowhere near enough material for a full-length new record, but I really don't want to sit on these for 2 years until I do. And he said, well, if you're ever going to do a greatest hits, now is the time to do it. It's been 20 years.
20 years.
Yes, and I sort of was in a bit of shock for a moment. I thought, my God, it is 20 years. Wow.
Yeah, 20 years went quick, though.
It did, you know. In some ways, it seems like a blink of an eye. In other ways, I feel like I've lived 3 lifetimes.
Well, a lot of artists tend to kind of shy away from the earlier songs. But, I mean, and you just played Angel for us, and it sounded as fresh as the day it, came out, which you're telling me 20 years ago is making me go...
Well, that's not 20 years, but that was, I think, a good 10 or 12 years.
Yeah, okay, yeah. That makes me feel a little bit better. But you really embraced the songs from earlier in your career.
Yeah, I look back with a great amount of nostalgia. That's those early songs, though I could critique them, I just sort of think, wow, that was pretty good for a 19-year-old or a 20-year-old to write. And those were the first songs, like from Touch. That was the first album's worth of material I wrote.
Do you look at that objectively, like it's somebody else, like it's some other 19-year-old?
No, it's me. I recognize myself in the songs, and I think about the place I was in when I wrote them. And it was a real interesting trip down memory lane, listening to all these songs and putting this compilation together.
Now you've got a couple of new songs. We mentioned You Want Me To, the Fresh Pick Future hit, which we've been playing here on Fresh 102.7. Let me ask you this. Which came first? The idea for the album? Because, you were talking about a greatest hits. You had this concept for a greatest hits. Well, you had mentioned that these 2 new songs already, you wanted to get them out there.
Yeah.
Would you have come out with the greatest hits album had you not had some new songs?
Probably not.
No.
Because I sort of felt like it's been so long in between records as it is, and though I enjoyed the idea of a greatest hits, I really felt like there needed to be some sort of bonus,
right?
For the fans, because they're very patient with me. They know it takes me forever to write anyway. So if I was going to release a record almost 5 years later without any new material on it, I think there might have been a mutiny.
A mutiny?
There might have been some angry fan mail.
What does a mutiny exactly look like? I mean, Sarah McLachlan, mutiny, how does that look like?
I have some pretty passionate fans.
I know. I just was looking, you totally revamped the website, so it looks great.
That's right,
there.
yes.
Anyone wants to take a look at it online. It's
That's a lovely new website.
sarahmclachlan.com.
Lots of new pictures, that's right.
Lots of new pictures.
Yeah.
And you were instrumental, we all remember from the 90s, late 90s, the Lilith Fair concerts, which were huge. And you said that it was because one of your bosses said that no one would go to see all these women in one show.
Oh, no, it wasn't any of my bosses. I don't have a boss, for one thing. And no, it was actually when we had the idea, we went to some promoters and they said, oh, you can't put 2 women on the same bill, much less a whole show. Well, there was no reason. It was asinine.
But I mean, you think...
they thought people will not come. And I thought, if you put good music together, people will come. And anybody says no about something like that, I said, well, I'm going to prove you wrong. And so... out we came with Lilith, and it did pretty well.
You can imagine somebody saying that in the 50s or 60s, but in the 90s that people were still thinking like that.
Yeah, I know. It seemed very perverse to me. But
have you seen a difference for women in the industry now, 10 years later?
It sort of felt at the end of Lilith like a door slammed shut a little bit for me when I looked out at the world of music. And granted, at the time, music is very cyclical. And singer-songwriters and women in music were having this grand, great ride, and there was a lot of media excitement about it, which always sort of pushes things a little out of proportion anyway. And then all of a sudden there was this surge of boy bands and girl bands and real bubblegum pop.
Right,
and
late 90s.
Yeah, and that sort of took over the airwaves, and which was to a certain degree the antithesis of Lilith Fair.
Sure.
So I things kind of went away. But a lot of the women who were making music were still continuing to make music. They just weren't perhaps as, it wasn't as big a media deal. But we're all still out there.
But if you decided to do this, hey, I'm going to do Lilith Fair reunion or a brand new Lilith Fair, Would you bring some of the old artists?
Absolutely.
Or are there some new artists out there that you've heard?
Off the top of my head, one artist who I would be absolutely at the top of my list would be Feist. Yeah,
Okay.
she's fantastic.
But you bring back some of the... See, I'm already the promoter here. I'm putting this together for you.
Here's my list.
That's right. You mentioned you're an artist. A lot of people don't realize you're a painter, as well as some of your artwork being used on releases, postcards, and posters.
Yeah, I'm not so much a painter as I'm a drawer. I love doodling. They're sort of crazy doodles is what I do.
Will you be releasing some stuff separate to your music?
No, you know what happens? I draw for people. If I have to think of somebody for a birthday present, I just draw them a picture. So I don't own any of the stuff that I draw. It's all gone out to the wind.
And then somebody sells it on eBay and says this is Sarah McLachlan's
I don't
doodle.
think so. I hope not.
That
would make me sad.
Now, you formed the Sarah McLachlan Music Outreach in Canada. You're from Vancouver. This is a free music program offered to youth there. How's that going?
It's fantastic. We're in our 6th year. We have a little over 200 kids enrolled in the program, and it's an after-school program. We have guitar, piano, percussion, a junior choir, senior choir. There's songwriting workshops, and we have a lot of artists coming in and sort of giving workshops and things like that. So it's really amazing, and it feels really, really good to be able to give back to the community that I feel like has given me so much.
That's great. That's great. And bringing music into
Yeah,
kids' lives.
music is one of the first things that goes in schools. And especially for these kids, a lot of them have never had the opportunity to even pick up a musical instrument, much less learn how to play it. And so I think this is just giving them, a bit of a step in the right direction. I mean, I had private music lessons. Music was in schools. It was very easy for me. And it saved me on so many levels.
Yeah, and they
having
talk
music in
about
my
how
life.
it helps in other subjects too.
It helps in math and
Right.
science. Yeah, it makes for a more well-rounded human being to be able to have some sort of discipline where you can be creative.
Sure. And your creativity, another new album, completely new album. Can we expect that anytime?
Yeah, I'm promoting this one up until Christmas, and then January I'm going to go back in the studio.
And then back to work, and who knows?
Yeah, the way I work these days, I have 2 small children, and my kids are my number one priority, but I'm very lucky. I have a studio at home, and I can sort of go at a reasonable pace, and my fans are patient.
Get occasional interruptions in the home studio with the kids?
Yeah.
that
They're the
happens.
most beautiful and constant distractions in my life.
How old are they?
The 2 girls, 15 months and 6.5 years old.
Wow, that's quite a little gap there.
Yeah, I'm really glad
Yeah.
I did that. I mean, my firstborn, I took her on the road she was from 18 months to 3.5. She was on the road with us. And I don't think she remembers very much of it, but
Do they have any sense of what you do, or are you just
She
mom
does.
who plays music in the house?
she does. I mean, she knows that's my job, and that takes me away from her at times. So she's actually a bit resentful of it.
Oh,
People will come
right.
up to us on the street and want to talk to me. She's like, hey,
But I can
who
imagine.
is that person? What do they want from you?
But she's got to share you with millions of fans. So I mean,
she
if I
doesn't
was-
want to share me.
I know. If I was 6 years old, I'd feel the same way.
Exactly. So
Well, I want to thank you very much for joining us. We love the music,
Thank
and
you.
good luck with the greatest hit CD. It's called Closer, the Best of Sarah McLachlan, the song You Want Me To, and check it out for all the other great Sarah McLachlan songs. If you missed any of the CDs along the way, this is your chance to get them all, and we appreciate you joining us. Sarah McLachlan
you.
with us on Fresh 102.7.